Well, happy Monday. Welcome back.
Hello.
Howdy.
2 weeks have passed since we last were together, guys.
Mm-hmm.
2 long
Well,
weeks.
I personally, and I think all three of us watched on Spin well, if you can read Riley's title up there on
Yes.
somebody's favorite host episode,
Yeah, I think that's a stretch. I don't really think that's true. I think that's fake news. So,
I've only seen him once, so I know I don't have the title.
Well, friends out there in streaming Facebook and YouTube land, welcome. Thank y'all so much for joining us. Episode lucky 13 of Southern Gospel
Wow.
4. 13 is actually seriously my lucky number. I wore it in baseball, basketball. That was my number. So I'm seeing this as being a very lucky show. So
Hey, I wore that number in basketball too. So
perfect. All right. Well, we have got an outstanding guest with us today, but like we do, we're going to take care of a few things right quick and talk about some folks who sponsor Southern Gospel Forward. So right out of the gate, we have Ex Nihilo Media, and they have been sponsoring us since we started having sponsors, and we thank them for that. Digital media, digital design and print, and event photography. They are best in the business. If you're looking for that, go to www.exnihilomedia or exnihilo.media, and look them up. You won't go wrong with the Mills sisters. Also, we have a returning sponsor, the Lawson family. You go to lawsonsmusic.com and you can find their tour schedule and their booking information. And we greatly appreciate the Lawsons, who's been sponsoring us for, I think, about 4 episodes now. So thank you all so much for sponsoring us. And then we got a new sponsor. It is Crimson River Ministries. They have been promoting concerts over 34 years, and they've got a concert coming up on Friday, April 12th at 7 p.m. at Taylor's Valley Baptist Church in Temple, Texas. Gold City Quartet and Master's Voice Quartet, 2 of the finest in the business. And they are actually partnering with us so closely with this sponsorship that if you go to crimsonriverministries.com to order your ticket for the concert, you can use coupon code FORWARD and you receive $5 off of your ticket. So we thank them for that sponsorship. And these are not necessarily sponsors, but we'd like to give a shout out. We are all things Southern Gospel here. The Southern Gospel Music Association, we think highly of and very involved with. And you can go to sgma.org and for $20, become a member of the Southern Gospel Music Association. Your membership fee helps procure the museum and all the artifacts in the museum in Pigeon Forge. And also with your membership, you get to nominate those to be inducted each year into the Hall of Fame. And then I want to give a shout out to NQC, a couple of events coming up. NQC Spring Break happening April 11th through 12th, 24. That's at the LeConte Center in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. Put that on your calendars. And then the granddaddy of them all, September 22nd through 28th of 2024, again at the LeConte Center, Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, the National Quartet Convention. 7 days of full evening concerts, and 4 of those days have full showcases in the afternoon. Just the granddaddy of them all. You don't want to miss that. So join us at the National Quartet Convention. And then finally, we have one individual sponsor for tonight's show, and this is another regular sponsor. We appreciate Daniel Hayes for sponsoring us.
Riley, fireworks.
Yes. Fireworks for Daniel. That's what I'm talking about. Thank you so much. These sponsorships mean a lot to us, y'all. Again, we have talked to y'all. We're trying to get the budget up to go to the NQC and do a few other things that we want to do with Southern Gospel Forward. And, one thing you can do right now is share. If you're watching this on Facebook, would you click share and share with your friends? Share with your enemies who's your friends on Facebook. We always have Facebook friends that we really
I figured this out on YouTube. You can go in, you can get the link, you can text it, you can email it, you can send it, you can Snapchat it, Instagram it, tweet it, whatever y'all do. Go get on YouTube, send it out like really
send it to
everywhere.
your friends that don't have social media.
Yeah.
Right.
and that's big because YouTube, we need about 200 more subscriptions to get to the number we need to get to. And we'll have that many watch us before this thing is over with the night for sure. So we need y'all would just go to SBM Studios on YouTube and subscribe and hit that notifications and you'll catch us. But thank y'all so much for being so good to us and supporting us. And I am looking forward to this episode. And I think what I'm going to do right now is not delay any longer and turn it over to Evan to bring on our guest.
So this guy right here, I've been a big Perry's fan for as long as I can remember. The Perrys are a lot of the reason that I love Southern gospel music. And when Libby Perry stuff will hire this guy, he really did the job. I'm telling you, Dayton can knock it out of the park every single night on stage. And you haven't lived until you've seen this guy sing a note. So please welcome my friend, Mr. Dayton Gay.
Hello. How are y'all?
I told you, man. I set the bar high. I even had applause, man. I had the whole crowd.
Crowd went wild.
That's insane.
Dayton, we thank you so much for taking. I know this is an off day for you, and you're taking your personal time to share with us, and we thank you so much.
Well, I appreciate you so much for having me on. I'm excited about this.
Yeah, I have been too. Looking forward to it for what we've had this on for about 7 to 10 days, something like that. I tell you what we do a lot of times is just a lot of folks may not know you. A lot of folks probably do know you that's watching, but if you will take a moment and just act like you're brand new to anybody watching and just tell a little bit about yourself, introduce yourself, and just give your background and just whatever you want to say to start us off.
All right. Well, my name is Dayton Gay, if that wasn't obvious already. And I am 24 years old. I've been married for 3 years to my beautiful, lovely wife, Katie. We live in Brownsville, Tennessee. Is about 45 minutes east of Memphis. And I've been singing my whole life, pretty much. I started singing Southern gospel music with my family. We had a local group when I was, I first started when I was 3 years old, sang my first song on a stage. And then after that, the older gentleman that was singing with my mom and my aunt, he passed away. But by that time, I learned harmony. And so they allowed me to come on the road with them. So I started singing on the weekends with them when I was 7. Did that from 7 to 17, so 10 years. And then I went to college at Bethel University, and I was in the Renaissance program under the direction of Matthew Holt, who used to play piano for the Perrys, now plays piano for Bill Gaither and the Gaither Vocal Band, and got the job with the Perrys, filling in during 2020 after Andrew and Troy left the group. Filled in with them for about a year and a half, and then Scott came along, accepted the job. But then when Scott left, Libby called me back, and I was happy to come back. So here I am.
Yes, I was there the first. I think I was there both first. Your first night filling in, and then your first night with them, as like a full-on member.
Wow.
So I've got to see kind of the whole experience, and it's been
the
awesome
evolution. Well, I'm for as far as for the concerts a few years ago. I'm sorry. There's been a lot of growth vocally and maturity wise since then. But anyway.
Well, Dayton, I'm looking forward to really getting to know you. I've watched you a lot, seen you, and then I've watched you on a lot of the stuff on YouTube and all that. But I'm looking forward to kind of being a fan tonight and just learning a little bit more about you. And I think that our crew has got some questions lined up. I know some of our Southern Gospel Forward group has sent in some questions as well. So I'm going to let y'all get started with that, guys.
Awesome.
So you've already kind of went along the lines of how you got started singing, but what was like that big moment of like you knew you wanted to do Southern gospel more so for a living instead of just kind of doing it in church and such?
Okay, so that's tough because like I said, I've been singing my whole life and I've always enjoyed it. And even when I wasn't singing like Southern gospel on the weekends with the family group, I sang in church from the time I was very young to up till now. But as far as one moment when I knew this is what I wanted to do actually happened much later. And it happened when I was 17 and I went to the Renaissance choir show that was in Covington, Tennessee, which was about 15 minutes from where I lived at that time. And Matthew Holt had the Renaissance Quartet and the choir there that night. So I went and I watched the choir and the quartet. And I was sitting there, and honestly, I had my entire life planned out at that point, and it was not at all what it ended up being. I was going to go to a completely other school, a different school. I was going to study youth ministry, not because I felt called to do that, but that's just what people in my environment were doing. So that's what I felt I was supposed to do. And I've always been into ministry in any sense of the word, whether it was music or not. So I honestly and I truly believed that that's what I was going to do. I was going to go there, get the youth ministry degree, serve in a church, and live where that college was instead of where I'm at. But then I went to that concert, and I was sitting there thinking, as the Renaissance Quartet was performing, I was sitting there thinking, well, these guys get scholarshiped to do this. And then I had a second thought. I'm like, what, people who are out of college, they get paid to do this. And I love doing this. People make a living doing this. And I thought it was super cool. I wasn't all in yet. After the concert, I went to their table, the Renaissance Quartet's table, and Matthew Holt was there. And I told him, I said, I'm a huge fan. It would be an honor for me if you would play something while I sang. If you could just play the piano and let me sing something with you playing, that would just be a dream come true. And he said, well, come on and let's do it. So we went to the piano there after the concert was over, and I sang It Is Well. And he started playing, and he said, you can sing. He said, and then he called the alto over for the group, and he said, sing with her. So I sang exactly what I sang again. And she said, okay, now she's going to sing melody. You pick something else. And so I sang harmony under her. And what I didn't know at that time was that he was auditioning me. But he was auditioning me. When we got done with that, he said, you're really cool. I really like your voice. I like some of the choices you made with the harmony without me having to tell you to do them. He said, here's the deal. Our lead singer graduates this May. This was, I think, this was in September, so it would have been the next May. So I went, and he said, the lead singer graduates this May, this upcoming May. If you will come this upcoming spring semester, starting in January, when he graduates, I would like for you to step into that position. And I said, that's really cool, but I kind of have everything planned out. I'm going to this other school. I'm studying something completely different. And he said, well, you do know I will scholarship you to sing Southern gospel music. And I said, I didn't realize that fully. And then he's like, he gave me some numbers. And I said, okay, I'll do it. And since then, since I went to the school and since I got into the program, it lit the fire in me that's what I wanted to do with my life. And I didn't go to college to study music per se. I did music production, which is more so studio work and stuff like that. Not necessarily vocals, but yeah, that was the moment. I was sitting in that audience looking at these guys do what I loved doing. And then after it, Matthew, it was almost like God put it in my lap and said, if you ignore this, I don't know what, Wow. So I felt like I couldn't ignore it. And that's what I did. And that's how it happened.
That's awesome.
So Evan talked about meeting you in, was that 2020? I think we met you filling in with the Perrys. But when we saw you, my mom and I realized we had seen you a lot earlier than that. And I think you were with your wife's group, her family's group, right? The Barnett family.
Yes. Yes.
We had seen them in the Jasper area, and they would come every year to this homecoming that we would go and see with the Page Trio. Do you remember them at all?
Yes. No, I've been to that exact concert with them. Yes.
Yeah. So we remembered, we were like, we've seen this guy before. We've seen him at this little homecoming. This is awesome to see him here now, because we remember thinking you were great way back then, and your wife sings too, right?
She does.
She's fantastic.
Yes, she is.
She's absolutely fantastic. And her family is just amazing prayer warriors. I remember being a little kid and thinking they are amazing people. Their spirit are we still there? Hello? I don't know what happened. Freeze?
I can hear you now.
Okay. Y'all froze for a second.
I know what happened. Anyway, I remember a video going viral of you singing with the group and seeing like thousands of people watch that. And I was like, this is my guy.
So when I gave my my little rundown about how long I'd been singing and everyone I sang with, I kind of gave the Cliff Notes version. But I did sing. I sang with my wife's family, the Barnett family, in total, both before and after filling in with the Perrys for probably 2 years. Sang with them a year before and a year after. And I also sang with a group from around here called Highway 22. And that Highway 22 video was the one that went viral. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I remember seeing that and seeing it going around thinking, wow, this is awesome.
Yeah, and what you said about Katie's family, I can honestly say this, and I promise I'm not just kissing up because they're my in-laws, but they are probably some of the sweetest and godliest people that I've ever met. They'll do absolutely anything in the world for you, and I'm blessed to be a part of this family. I love her family. Yes.
And I think what we probably might need to do is get Riley to shoot in with a question, and we may need to get, I think Evan and Avery may be having a little Wi-Fi issue.
I was real quick.
So yeah, Riley, why don't you take it away?
Okay, so let's talk a bit about your influences. One of the questions we had in the group was, who's the role model in gospel music you looked up to most and why? And maybe someone who has taken time to encourage you and since you've become a part of the industry.
Okay, so that's a two-part answer for me. And again, I promise I'm not kissing up. I mean this from the bottom of my heart, and I have told her this from my mouth. So this shouldn't be a surprise to her. But Libby Perry Stuffle is the biggest role model for me, both in the industry and as a Christian and as a spouse and as a mother. And I've told her that. In the industry, I have never experienced her deal unfairly with someone, and that's to be respected. But honestly, beyond that, just her character as a person and as a Christian, I look up to her highly. I highly look up to her, and all the stuff that happened with Tracy, and we won't get into it because I'm sure most of the people that watch this probably followed that story just like I did when it was happening. But you think about her entire life. I mean, the Tracy ordeal, but she lost two children with Tracy. She lost 2 brothers when she was a child. She lost both of her parents, and she has persevered through that and has never her testimony has never wavered. She has always maintained her Christian testimony, and I look up to that. I look up to that so much. I've told her if I can be half the spouse that you were to Tracy, I'll be doing pretty good. And one day, hopefully, when me and my wife have children, if I can be half the mother that you have been to Jared, I'll be doing pretty good. She really is just truly not only an icon in this industry, I fully believe, but just a godly Christian woman that anyone can look up to. In the industry, aside from her, someone who has always been encouraging to me, even before I was in the industry, is Gary Casto. And I've never had the opportunity to tell him that face to face. We've always, since I've been in the industry, we've just kind of been in passing. We'd be at concerts, but we're both busy. But even before that, when I was in school, I went to a tribute quartet concert that was in Dyersburg, Tennessee. So I drove from McKenzie to Dyersburg, and I went and saw them. And he knew me specifically because a girl that was in the quartet that I was in took, I'm not sure how it works, vocal training or vocal lessons from him at Steve Hurst School of Music when she had went. And she apparently had just sung my praises, which I was not comfortable with, but she did. So I showed up, and he recognized me just from me being with her and hearing my name, and said that she had showed him the quartet CD that we had done, and that he was very encouraging to me even then, and even since then. Every time he's seen me, he tells me, you're doing a great job. Just keep doing what you're doing. And someone who doesn't really know me personally to pour into me like that, just because I'm a young artist and he sees me trying my best, that means a lot to me.
Yeah, Gary's the real deal. He is an encourager for sure. To our viewers that are watching live, y'all know, this has happened a few times before. We've had some fun in internet land, I think, with our connections, but I think we're cleared up. I'm getting a little bit of distortion on my end. I think me talking, so I'm going to try to talk less and let my young host do most of the question asking. But we do want to get to the comments right quick, and let's see who we've got jumping on with us and saying howdy. May have a question or two in here. Matthew Mays, a regular viewer, we thank him for being with us again. Aaron Swain. He says it's his favorite part of the week. Thank you, Aaron, for joining us and hanging out with us. Megan, one of our regulars as well. Good to have you with us again. And Mal Mallory, Coach Mal, he's with us. Thank you for joining us. Hannah Bradford, I think over in some of our host neck of the woods, she is watching, and we appreciate that. Zachary Wilburn's on. Thanks, buddy, for joining us.
He's known about this episode since before we even booked it with Dayton. He's like, who are y'all getting on next? And I was like, well, I've talked to Dayton a lot, and he's like,
I think Zach told
Zach's
me I was going to be on before y'all even invited.
Yeah. Johnny Parrish, hello all, and Riley. Oh well, Riley gets his own hello.
Bye.
She's like one of she's one of my concert grandma. So
okay. What else you got here, producer? Oh, well, here's a good one. Check this one out. And yes, we want to give a shout out to Miss Avery because this past she filled in for the Chuck Wagon gang and did an awesome job on the alto part. And Aaron is giving his kudos. I know you had a blast.
It was fun.
Brother Nicholas Wilkie in the house. Thanks for joining us.
The man, the myth, the legend.
The legend. Olivia Solomon, good to see you. Let's see. Producer Jason's wife always hanging out with us. Rachel, well, thank you for watching. Appreciate that. And we're just Aaron wants to sing like Dayton when he grows up. Just keep
You are
practicing,
too
buddy.
kind, Aaron. I'm gonna punch you in the arm when I see you again for saying that. That's my aunt.
So I was gonna let you handle that one. Yeah. Thank you, Miss Susan, for joining us.
You don't know that guy, do you?
Oh, unfortunately, I do.
Jason, thanks for joining us. Can't
Shut
believe
up.
he's not wearing a tie.
They give me so much grief for wearing ties when they don't. I like ties.
Just give him grief about the lady giving him milk on the cruise or whatever that whole story was.
I will.
About.
Oh, I've got plenty of ammunition after that cruise. I promise you.
Here's we'll go ahead and throw out, this is a two-parter question from the Peanut Gallery. Megan wants to know your favorite Bible verse and your favorite Perry song that whether you sung it yet or not.
Okay. So I have two favorite Bible verses, and I know that's kind of cheating.
No.
But two of them are for different reasons. One for a while that I said was my all-time favorite was Daniel 3:18, which is, but if not, be it known unto you, O King, that we will not worship the golden image which you have set up, or something like that. And it's just having enough faith in God to believe that he will deliver you. And even if he doesn't, if it's in his will for you to perish, that's okay. I love that verse, and I've heard many sermons about that one verse, and I just love it. It's an all-time favorite verse. Another one is Ephesians 3:20 through 21, which is now unto him that is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all that we ask or think, to him be all glory and power and so on and so forth. And to me, that's a promise verse.
Yes.
If you think that your dreams or whatever you have in mind for your life is too big, give it to God and watch what happens. I love that verse.
Good deal.
Favorite Perry song is, although I don't do it justice, and honestly, it's one that I practice a lot because I'm not comfortable with how I sing it. But I wish I could have been there. Is my favorite Perry song to sing.
That's the song that got me hooked.
It's a lot of words, man, and it's been done. It's been done so many times that it's hard to do anything original with it, which is why I struggle with it. But I love it.
You always knock it out of the park.
Oh, it's always. I mean, that's the reason why it's so iconic as a concert closer.
Oh yeah,
because it's that iconic of a song.
Oh yeah,
you know? And I dare say I'd put it up there with some others. Oh, there he is.
I was waiting.
A land canal.
Our
So
favorite.
First time you said to self, bam, this is it.
I'm not sure what he means.
We never do.
That is a running theme for the questions from Brother Kendall when he pontificates on our commentary here. You just got to go with it. So actually, you got a very kind question.
That one was a little bit more readable. Just wait till he asks you about the state of Fredonia, or
Austin Alvey got to stand next to Dayton and sing for a couple months.
That's a good man right there. That's my buddy.
Yeah, thank you, Austin, for joining us and for chiming in. All right. And I think we've caught up. Again, y'all keep commenting. We can't get to one person put in the comments, and we didn't throw this up there, but I'm going to get back with you, but asking about how you can sponsor Southern Gospel Forward.
Yes.
We always put that out when we have an episode. We do sponsorships for individuals, and we got a message the other day talking about how cheap that it really wasn't sponsorships because it was just not much when we reached the number that we reach. And that's okay. We're wanting to do this we're just trying to build a little small budget, but we're also wanting to make it low to partner with folks and for folks to partner with us. So $10 an individual, you can have your name show up like we did on the scroll. And then for $25, we'll throw your image up there and let you as your ministry or a business, as long as the business agrees with what we're doing here, you can do that for $25. And we take Venmo and PayPal and eggs and chickens and just about any way you want to pay for it. But I'll contact you in the comments specifically. But y'all will just be watching for that. All right, let me get out of the way here and let y'all have another round of questions.
Is it my turn?
Yes, your turn.
I never can remember if it's my turn or not to ask a question. So I'm gonna get this one quick and over early. It's feel like forever since I've asked this question, but it's kind of my recurring question. I've been around the Perry's bus for a long time, and I know that y'all like to snack on the bus. So what is your favorite road trip snack?
Honestly, I'm not much of a snacker. And I know, like, and you can look at me and probably think I'm lying, but I'm not much of a snacker. If I'm gonna eat, I want a meal.
That's respectable.
If I had to pick one, and Jason Gordon, if you're still watching, you got me on this, and I will never forgive you. He always has either Oreos or Chips Ahoy cookies on the bus somewhere. And I'm going to be honest, when it's after a night concert and you're on your way to the next venue and it's, 11 p.m., midnight, and you're like, man, those cookies look good. And he always has milk as well, and he's willing to share. So
Isn't it like
if I had,
it's like a vocal no-no to drink milk. I've always heard that. So
that's why you do it after the concert.
All right. I haven't asked Jason that because he's the one singing professionally and not me. So
yeah. But if I had to pick one, it would be that, because he'll whip out the Chips Ahoy and his half gallon of milk.
Half gallon,
and I will partake with him.
Respect to that, Jason. I'll bring you some Chips Ahoy. Do you like here's a real question. When you say Chips Ahoy, do you like the chewy, the crunchy,
He likes the crunchy, so that's the ones I eat, because like I said, I don't buy snacks for me.
Right.
But if I were going to buy Chips Ahoy, I would buy the chewy.
Thank you. Amen. And all the choir said amen.
No.
Put it in the comments. Which one do y'all like, chewy or crunchy? Let's get a debate going.
My question is, what kind of milk?
2%.
2%. Not whole.
I like 2% milk. So
So Jason's thing, Jason drinks a lot of milk, like a lot of milk, more milk than I'm comfortable with.
How does he sing every night?
Well, like I said, he does it after, or when we're not going to be singing for a considerable amount of time. So Jason drinks a lot of milk, and so his reasoning is for not doing whole milk, because he does prefer whole milk. He thinks he would put on like 20 pounds easy.
There's
if
the
he
comment.
actually did whole milk with the amount that he drinks. So
I'm gonna go grab some cookies. I'll be right back. No.
Okay. What did he say? Oh yeah.
Does coffee count? I will say.
What happened?
Are we frozen?
Sorry. All right.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, your question.
My question.
Why'd you just stop?
Because I thought everybody else froze. I didn't want to interrupt.
Goodness gracious.
I thought we froze again. I was like, what's going on? I was going to take it back on a more serious note of knowing you before the Perrys, of things people may not have known. I remember a prayer chain going around for you after a car wreck. Do you mind telling us that but God story? Because that just, if it don't send chills up you, you might need to check up.
Like I said, when I accepted the offer to go to Bethel University, I get there and it was my first semester at school. So I turned 18 by this point, and me and a few friends that I had made, we were going to a bluegrass jamboree is what it was called. And it was out in the middle of nowhere. So we had to use a GPS to get there. We get there, had a good time. We sang a few that night on stage. They heard us singing backstage and invited us on. So we did that, and it was fun. We left and put campus back into the GPS. And I always say, just kind of as a joke, but I also kind of believe it a little bit. Because GPSs are made by Satan himself. It sent us a completely different direction to get back to school. So we were on a road that we had never been on. We didn't know. It was late. We get to the top of a hill, and there's no sign to tell us that there is a stop sign at the bottom of the hill. So we're going the speed limit, but we get down there, see the stop sign. Everybody in the car yells, "Stop, stop, stop." So my buddy Nick, he was driving. He slams on the brakes, but it's an older car, so it kept rolling. And we roll into oncoming traffic, and we get hit on the driver's side, which me and Nick I was behind him, get hit on that side by a pickup truck that was going 62 miles an hour. So our car slides across the lane, and we go through the median and end up on the other side of the highway. My buddies Andy and Alex that were on the other side, they get out and they go find help. This is another thing. I don't know if you've ever heard this part of the story, because I try to keep it short on stage. Just as luck would have it, and it's not even luck, it's God, we were 1 mile away from the local hospital. So as soon as it happened, someone saw it and they called the hospital. Ambulance were on the scene almost immediately. And they were checking us out, and they saw that my wrist was broken and that I had some glass in my forehead. But that was all they could see. But they said, just as a precaution, because we don't really have the equipment here to check you out the way we need to, we're going to life flight you and Nick to Vanderbilt in Nashville. So we get there and realize that I have a ton of internal injuries. I was septic. My intestines had torn. My pelvis was shattered. I had a brain hemorrhage. My eye was busted. My wrist was, I actually have a scar, but I always wear something on it to cover it up. But I have a scar there where they had to sew my hand back on. I had a lot of injuries, and they told my parents, when my parents got there, they said, is he going to be okay? And they said, we don't know, and we can't tell you. The second day came. I was pretty stable the first night. I was banged up, but I was pretty stable. The second day came, I wasn't stable at all. They couldn't keep me stable. My vitals kept dropping. They kept having to go in, and it was an emergency situation every single time it happened. And then my parents asked again, and they said, we don't know, but it doesn't look good. So that's when my parents, my mom and my aunt, actually, they created that Facebook page and that prayer chain. And all of a sudden, thousands upon thousands of people I had never met were praying for me,
including our family, our little church.
Before we even knew.
Yes, and it's crazy. I've been singing. Like I said, I've been singing my whole life, and since then, I was 18, so I'm 24 now. Math, 6 years ago. Since then, people have come to whatever product table I was at and hey, I prayed for you. And it's like, I've never met you. Oh, I know, but I've seen you and I prayed for you. And that's awesome. I through a lot of prayer and a lot of surgeries, I did come through it. And I was in a wheelchair for about 6 months until my pelvis healed. And I had a colostomy bag for 6 months after that until my intestines healed enough where they could connect it back. And, it just to show you how God works, if you didn't know that story, you wouldn't know. Because I can walk just fine. Everything that I deal with is so minute in comparison to what it could have been that the only way you can say I ended up as well as I did is just God. The fact that I survived is just God. The fact that I can walk around and I can talk and I can sing. But one of the first questions I asked would I still be able to sing? Because I knew from the amount of surgeries that I had had that they had been shoving tons of tubes down my throat, and that can cause a lot of damage. And they said, we don't know, probably not. You'll be lucky if you'll be able to talk in a few months. And to have a career singing, doing what I love, walking and having life and breath in my lungs to tell that story to people is nothing but God. Nothing but God.
I love that story. So I was like, we have to tell that story because I feel like a lot of people don't know that. Like you said, it's been 6 years ago. People don't know that part just looking at you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
That's
thank
awesome.
you.
I love every opportunity I have to share that.
Yeah.
I'm kind of continuing with that. Is there a song or a particular song or anything that was comforting to you or encouraging to you during that time?
Yes. is probably it's gonna sound strange to the Southern gospel fanatics, because it is not Southern gospel,
He's
but
got
it
his
is
Crowder
gospel.
shirt on.
It is gospel. I'll say that. But Smokey Norfolk, he wrote a song called "God Is Able," and he wrote it because, and I love to hear him tell this story. You should look; it's on YouTube. Look up Smokey Norfolk. It'll be a picture of him in a fedora thing, and the background looks kind of beige because he's in a room with a choir. He tells the story. Doctors had told him and his wife that they would never be able to have children, but through prayer and years of trying, they did. And then, but they wanted lots of kids. They wanted more than one. So he came home from work one day, and his toddler, his son at that time, ran into the room holding a positive pregnancy test and saying, "Daddy, Daddy, I'm going to be a big brother." And I love it. I get choked up. I get excited every time I hear him say it. But he said he was saying, "Daddy, I'm going to be a big brother," but all I could hear is "God is able." And so he went down to his basement where he wrote his songs, and he wrote "God is Able." Something I don't tell my mom, my wife, my roommate from college at that time, and I've told Jason this story. Those are the only people I've ever told. So you get exclusive access to this. But every single time I had an appointment for a follow-up to a surgery or another surgery or x-rays, MRIs, anything, on the way to the hospital, I would listen to that song on repeat. And then when I went, and inevitably, because God is good and God was faithful to me, when I got good answers for that and positive results, I would play it on repeat all the way back to home or campus or whatever. So God is Able by Smokey Norfolk.
Amazing.
That is awesome.
Amen.
You just as I'm not trying to get it on Perry's business, but if any of the other three are listening, or if producers listening, y'all should cut that and let you.
So it's funny. I told Jason that story a few weeks ago, and he said we should sing that song.
There we go. Just got to get Boss Lady in on it.
I can't sing that song, not only because of the emotional, but it's if you hear it, you would understand. It's completely not a song I could sing, but it's good. It's really good.
It is my turn. I'm telling you, I cannot remember my turn ever. So with your testimony, was there ever a moment, that like you can relate in your gospel life to like someone in the audience who's had a similar testimony? Have you ever had a situation like that where someone, a son or a daughter, a mother, or a brother had a like a wreck or something like that happen to them? Has your story ever been, touching to someone like that and kind of helped them through?
It happens. It happens all the time. But I don't share that testimony every time we sing. And look, I don't know whether this is an admonishment for the people watching or if it's just something that we all understand. There are audiences and congregations that are not as receiving to testimonies and actually being spiritual as some others are. And that's fine. People worship differently, and that's something that you learn when you do this for a little bit. So there are some situations in which it would be a waste of time to take that much time explaining something. Other situations where I have had the freedom and I felt the Holy Spirit move me to do that, inevitably there's at least one person every time that comes to the table and says they have a similar story or even something else, a completely different story, but in the same way that they knew only God could get them through it. And they will share that with me. And it's always touching to me because naturally I'm an introverted person, and I try not to come across that way. and I try to be talkative, especially in formats like this. But every time I open up and I share that part of my testimony, to have someone come to me and say that helped me, those verses you mentioned helped me, the words that you said helped me. It's always an encouragement to me. So I guess to answer your question a little bit more forwardly, it was I would say at least 3 times a month of concerts. At least 3 times a month someone comes. Yes, sir.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to shift gears and kind of go back to our regular questions now that we got that out of the way. And we can be a little more lighthearted, I think, from here on out. I mean, I love the Spirit.
I'm sorry.
No. I think it's absolutely beautiful.
Yes.
But I am going to ask some questions that I normally ask just because I think they're fun to ask. So if you could travel with a group that is now retired or former, they're no longer on the road, who would it be and why?
The Cathedrals. And because to me,
we need to keep a cathedral tally.
To me, that was the pinnacle of male quartet. And as far as Southern gospel, what I consider Southern gospel, that's the pinnacle. And just to not even the music part of it, but to travel with guys like George Yunts and Glenn Payne would be awesome. Because you hear people who did travel with them talk so highly of them, and just even to know them in that way would be amazing. So the Cathedrals.
I don't think a lot of people realize that at one time you had Danny Funderburk, who is a Hall of Famer, Mark Trammell, who is a Hall of Famer, Glenn Payne, who is a Hall of Famer, George Yonts, who is a Hall of Famer. I mean, the whole lineup were all Hall of Famers. You can even throw guys like Gerald in there. I mean, consistently, they've all had Hall of Famers.
It was like someone looked at a Southern gospel roster and put together an all-star team.
Right. And it's just those guys. They were that good.
So I'm going to do another question from the group. What's a song that was a hit for someone else that you wish or the Perrys in general could have snagged up first?
Okay, so I read that. I cheated. I looked at the I read that when they commented it, and I did write it down. But since then, actually on my way to work today, I heard a song and I was like, I might have to change my answer. But my original answer was Watch and See by Tony Gore and Majesty. Ooh. And only because I constantly catch myself singing that song, and it's beautiful. I mean, just the how it was arranged in general, but the words of it and the meaning, just taking you from the garden all the way to after he resurrected, and then see him come in clouds of glory, watch him take his church away. And also Katie's family, the Barnetts, they sang that. And so it's ever present
I've heard it from,
in my mind, because I can hear Papa Royce singing it.
Yes.
But anyway, that, and then also, but that was recorded probably 40 years before I was born. No, not 40, maybe 30. So Gold City, Lord of Life is another one I would say.
Yeah,
a little bit more current.
That's a good one.
Yeah,
I think you could record a lot of the Jonathan Wilburn era Gold City stuff. You've got
again. You're setting expectations.
I know. It's such a powerful lead that there's like lead singers, and then there's like powerful lead singers, and you have that style. And I'm not saying other lead singers aren't good, because I say a smooth lead singer is just as good as a powerful lead singer.
Yes.
But the way that I am, I love seeing a guy get up there and look like a stick of dynamite on stage. That's awesome to me.
And Jonathan Wilburn could do that and still does.
Right.
Yes.
All right. I'm being a little quiet because I'm being told that I'm distorting a little bit out there. So maybe this isn't bad. I'm going to stay back from the mic. But a couple of quick things.
I'm good right now, Scott.
Good deal. First of all, I was noticing, I think it was from your email address or something, in the year. So like 99, is that the year you were born?
Yeah, I'm a baby.
Yeah, that ticks me off. But anyway, so yeah, then you talk about 40 years ago with Tony. Come on, man.
It wasn't 40 years ago. When that song come out in like the 80s, so
yeah, it did.
It was probably like
it's
you know,
yeah, I'm
15
messing
years
with you.
before I was born. Yeah,
But I do have a legitimate question, and I think this will be okay. We're like really sticklers on here for everything, like always being like really positive and encouraging. But I think this question will be okay. I'm interested in your answer. So you were talking about the God is Able song, and talking about which that's not Southern gospel, and then something else when you was talking about Southern gospel. So what if I pose to the question to you? What is Southern gospel?
What is Southern gospel?
I'm so glad I'm not on the other end of that question.
I want to hear a young person's a young person on the road.
Definition.
Yeah.
I mean, do you want like a dictionary definition?
No,
or like if you were someone my age asking me that,
yeah.
Which version do you want? Okay.
Second.
If someone my age had never heard Southern gospel and they asked me to tell them what it was, I would say 4-part harmony. And if they had no idea what that was, I would say, okay, there's 4 voices, high, medium, slightly low, and very low.
Figured out my part.
And then I would tell them to go listen to the cathedrals, and I would tell them to go listen to the Statesmen. I would tell them to go listen to Gold City. And that's what I would say. And people who know me know this, and it's awful for me to say because I sing in a mixed group, but I am a stickler for male 4-part harmony. I love it. It's what I prefer to listen to. Yeah. But obviously, Southern gospel has more than just quartets, and there are duets and trios and everything else that fall under the category of Southern gospel. Southern gospel is a super wide genre that I like to think has multiple subgenres in it.
I agree.
But I have this conversation with my wife all the time because she loves, as far as secular music, she loved Rascal Flatts. And so she loves the sound because they sound like Rascal Flatts and Dan and Shay, and they sing that style, but it's still Christian Southern gospel music. So she gravitates more toward them. Whereas, I stay cathedrals, old Statesmen, stuff like that. But when I listen to secular music, I'm listening to, old country, and jazz. I love Michael Bublé. I love Frank Sinatra, Bing Crosby,
come on,
Elvis, Johnny Cash, that kind of stuff. So obviously, I'm going to gravitate more toward the older style 4-part harmony. I tell people there's something in it for everybody.
Yeah.
If you like country, there's that. If you like jazz, the Collingsworth, they do a lot of jazz-inspired arrangements. Even Greater Vision sometimes does things like that. If you like just straight down the line stuff you would have heard in church, probably 50 years ago, Mark Trammell Quartet, Gold City can do that. The cathedrals obviously did that. The Statesmen, they did that. That's what I would say. There's something in it for everybody.
Right. Oh, yeah.
You like some bluegrass in your cup? You got the Primitives. You got Chuck Wagon.
Well,
I like some
bluegrass.
You
have the Primitives. You got Jeff Talbert and Primitive Road now, but still.
Oh yeah.
And that's, I was just curious because now I definitely gravitate old school. Like I'd gravitate old school. You did hit on Statesman, but I'm like Statesman, Blue Ridge Quartet, back there in the golden era of Southern gospel. And then you move that, and I gravitate toward male quartets, male trios. However, I like everything. I love the bluegrass side. I love, you mentioned the sound and those that are on the Jordan Family Band, people like that. I enjoy. I agree. Southern gospel is such a broad genre of subgenres. It's kind of funny. I think if somebody asked me what is Southern gospel, I like what you said about the harmony and everything like that. But it's like Southern gospel. I know it's Southern gospel when I hear it, and I know it ain't when I hear it that it ain't. I don't. That's just
like that. Me and Jared have this conversation on the bus all the time because one of us, Jared will be driving and he'll just be flipping through radio stations, and it's uncanny because you can always tell there are two genres that you know exactly what it is without hearing any words: Southern gospel, praise and worship. You always know. You can tell by the way it's arranged. You can tell by how it sounds.
Yep.
You can say, oh, that's praise and worship. Oh, that's Southern gospel. You just think you know it when you hear it.
What's funny is a lot of groups nowadays are taking these praise and worship, what I say classics. I mean, your awesome God, goodness of God, arise my love. I mean, I'm not trying to pick on Triumphant or anything.
No.
Others do it. I mean, you've done goodness of God on
We
stage.
do goodness of God. Yeah.
I've sang goodness of God on stage. So, I love that we're taking. One of my favorites right now is Anthem Edition's Good God Almighty. I'm a huge Crowder guy.
Yeah.
Like, I'm wearing a Crowder shirt right now. Went and saw him and cried Saturday night seeing Crowder. But I love their arrangement of it because it sounds nothing like a Crowder song. Think Gold City's All My Hope. Sounds nothing like the Crowder version of it, but they're taking these things, and you can tell a distinct difference between the two.
Yeah. It sounds like Southern gospel when a Southern gospel group does it.
Right.
You know it by how it sounds.
Yep. Good deal. Real quick, do we have any comments that we need to? All right, what we got here? Christy Needham, my sister-in-law couldn't stand Southern gospel. I talked to her and going to a Perry's concert and heard Dayton sing, and she's hooked now. Hey,
wow.
That's it. I am convinced that a lot of times when folks say I don't like Southern gospel, they really never heard it, or it's not been positively presented to them. That maybe it was presented with some bias or something like that. But that's awesome. Young folks especially, you take them to a Southern gospel concert and they generally get hooked.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Now this is kind of this is kind of an odd question from Neil. Dayton, have you ever sung in Dayton, Ohio?
I have.
Well, there you go.
When I first came back to the Perrys, we did a weekend around the Ohio area, and we were in Dayton. Yeah.
Okay. Bet you that crowd went nuts.
All right. I think that's really about all. Let's see. We got one more. We're going to put up. Beverly Darnell says, hello, Dayton from Carroll County, Tennessee, close to Bethel. Loved you singing with Renaissance.
Thank you so much. That feels like a lifetime ago, but it really wasn't.
Thank you all so much for continuing to chime in. And now let me take a little seat. Let's see, where are we at on time? We're getting close to the hour mark. So, Dayton, do not let us overstay our welcome with you.
I am here as long as you want me here.
Okay, very good. Well, y'all want to go another round of questions?
Sure.
We can. I had a really cool one that I thought of a while ago with the tie thing, that you're very particular on your ties. Dimple or no dimple?
Always a dimple. Always.
Okay.
If I have to stand in front of the mirror and finagle with my tie for an extra 20 minutes to get a good dimple, I will do it.
I thought I knew that answer because
and I judge ties by how well they dimple. So I look for like
you know why I always wear bow ties? Because you don't have the time. You don't have to
do that. I get it. But no, I look for a certain consistency if I'm going to buy a tie for myself. I look for a certain thickness and everything because I know it will dimple well.
From the road brother himself.
He takes forever to tie a tie. Yeah, Jason kind of puts me to shame on how quickly he can change, but it's because Jason doesn't care how he looks. I mean, that's really what it is. I'm just trying to look the best. I mean, we're representing the Lord. We just get. I'm trying to look the best I can.
Just pull out the verse that you should always give your best to God and just put it on his bunk.
Right.
Okay.
If I'm Jason right now, I'm hurting, man. I'm in the floor.
Okay, I'm gonna swap it from Jason's tied choice to if you weren't singing full time and you had to have a full time job, which I know you have done, what would it be and why?
Well, okay, so when I took the job with the Perrys, I worked at a warehouse in Memphis. We were shipping and receiving. And so we unloaded trucks and we scanned labels and stuff like that. And it was by far the most laid back and relaxed job that I had, other than singing. So honestly, I'd probably be doing that full time.
Nice.
I mean, see, Memphis, that's cool.
The array of answers always interests me.
Yep.
Yeah. Also, I really enjoy landscaping. I did landscaping the first time before the Perrys. I did landscaping for Pick Sweet, which is the vegetable company, but they own so much property in Bells, Tennessee, where they're located here, that they had to have a landscaping crew to keep up with all the property. So we did landscaping for that, and I love landscaping because I love weed eating and mowing and trimming hedges and things like that. I love being out in the sun. I know I'm weird. I love being outside.
The sun hates me. The sun hates me, so.
I'm with Dayton. I will lay out and soak up the sun 24/7.
So my question is kind of twofold. What is a secret talent you have that nobody knows about? And then do you play any instruments?
The secret talent one is hard. I have a really good memory. I do. I have a really good memory. And it's not necessarily like photographic memory, but if we had a conversation about something, I can remember almost word for word what you told me. Mm-hmm. So that like if I'm with my wife, or even, when I was younger, when I was with my dad, he could, if he needed a part number for something he was working on, he could tell me the part number and I would remember the part number. Katie, even now, will be like, because she's a hairstylist and she has to total up her earnings at the end of the week because she has to do her own taxes and things like that. So she will tell me 61186, remember that. And I'll be like, okay. And then 2 hours later, what did I tell you? Remember 61186. Okay, I got you. I'm pretty good memory. I guess that's the secret talent. I don't even know if that probably doesn't even count.
I texted you about a song.
I play guitar.
I texted you about a song.
Yeah, you did.
Like 3 years ago, and y'all have brought it out 3 years later. Yeah, and like I don't know how the heck you remembered that, but for some reason you just whenever you said that, I'm like, okay, that makes sense now.
We had a whole conversation after when you texted that. We had a whole conversation on the bus, and that's why I remembered it, because there was multiple people talking about it at once. So I remembered. And actually, when Jason came on and he picked that song to be one of his songs, I said, "Oh, Evan's going to be happy because you requested
3 years later."
Like 3 years ago.
That's wild.
Yeah,
I can't remember what yesterday was, to be honest with you.
All right.
I play guitar for the second part of that question. I play guitar and I can play chords on a piano. I'm not great at piano, but I know enough to get myself in trouble. I know enough to get myself in trouble.
Something from the peanut gallery here. Jason said, every Perry song word for word that has ever been recorded. So, like right now, you could just bust out singing God's Little People.
Fake news. No, see, Libby actually tested me because she's always been super impressed that I knew a lot of the songs that they've recorded.
Yeah.
And I like almost word for word and almost all of the parts, I could remember them. And I told her why. And this made her feel old. So I have to tell this story now that he brought it up. So I told her we were getting dinner before we went to a concert, and me, her, and Jason. And I told her, I'm like, you realize why I'm able to do that, right? And she's like, no, I don't think you've ever told me. I said, okay, my dad had a 5-disc changer, and I have almost every Perry's album that's ever been recorded. And so what I would do is I would take 5 off of a stack. I would take them out and put them in and press shuffle. And whatever song played, that's the song I listened to. And I'd go back for every song, all 4 parts, I would sing them. And I would do that for the 10 or 12 albums that I had. And that's how I learned the parts and everything. And she said, yeah, you just made me feel old. And I'm like, why? And she said, because I used to do that with like the Goodmans and the Hensons. And you're saying you did it with me.
That's tough.
But she tested me. She did. She said, we were on the way to somewhere, and I was sitting up there, and she was sitting in the buddy seat. And she said, okay, I'm going to go through these songs, and you tell me when you stop knowing them. And This Is the Day is the album that my knowledge stops at. So anything pre the Perrys, so like the Perrys family, I don't know much of that. Obviously, I know like I'll Remember the Day and Rock of Ages, the hits, God's Little People. I know those, but most of the other ones up until This Is the Day and the Perrys quartet era. That's where my knowledge is.
So I have a question on top of that. What is your favorite album, I guess, from that? Because I'd say that as well is also from like This Is the Day to now this one. Is kind of the era that I've loved of the Perrys. So what is your favorite album of that era?
My favorite all-time Perrys album, and this is a cop-out, so I'll give you 2 answers.
Okay.
My favorite all-time Perrys album is Remembering the Happy Goodmans.
Yes.
That was so good.
That's my favorite album. But one that wasn't them paying tribute to someone else, This Is the Day had a lot of
good stuff on
bangers on it. You know what I'm saying? Had a lot of hits for them. Change Forever. Life of Love. I mean, there's too many good albums to pick one.
There's one with a sweet tea jar on it.
The Come Thirsty?
Come Thirsty. That one has.
I like Almost Morning as well.
Almost Morning's my favorite.
That's Through the Night.
Hit after hit.
I think it's underrated.
Yes, absolutely.
What's the one with I Got a Hold of God This Morning on it? That one's really good too.
That Through the Night? No,
Through the Night.
Is it Through the Night?
I think it's Through the Night.
I don't know. See, you're messing with me now too.
I could go on for days of just because I'm the same way. I would, as a kid, Mom collected all the CDs, so I just pop them in and learn all of Tracy's part, and then put the next one in, learn all of Tracy's part, pop the next one in, and do it all. So that's really why I sing.
What's funny to me now, looking back at doing that, is that okay? So if someone had never heard the Perrys before, like God forbid Jason leaves or whatever, and the new guy came to me and was like, I need to learn all the Perry songs, I would tell them to do exactly that.
Yeah.
But what's funny is when you were doing it, when I was 7, 8, 9, 10, I didn't realize that I was learning as I was doing it. I was doing it because I was having fun doing it, and it was Southern gospel, and I love Southern gospel, and I can sing these parts. Cool, let me learn all of them. Back then, it was for the fun of it. It's really cool.
We have maybe another question or two from the comments, and this comes from inside the house of some of our hosts. But Robert Bradford asked, where do you see yourself in 10 years?
10 years is a long way away.
It is.
Career-wise, I hope that in 10 years, Libby is still singing.
Yeah.
And I hope that I'm still with the group. Life-wise, I hope I have a kid or two. Other than that, I'm pretty happy with where I'm at currently. So if everything was the same 10 years from now as it is right now, I would be perfectly content.
Perfect. Great answer. Brian Park asked, have you ever written any songs?
Not any that I'm proud of.
I've got that same notebook. I've got that same notebook.
Oh gosh, I wrote the most stupid bluegrass song when I was like a junior in high school, and I've the other day I was looking him through my Bible, and I found the lyrics to it, and I was like, why did I write this?
Right.
It was. It's one of those that even if I was listening to it in concert, I'd be like, what was the writer thinking? He wasn't, is what it is.
Oh, that's one of those B-sides. We may have one more round. I know we're probably getting close to a wrapping up spot, but Dayton, we usually turn the tables. And I know you know a couple of these a whole lot better than you know me, but sometimes we turn the tables and to the artist. And any questions you'd like to ask all of us who have been peppering you with questions for the last hour?
Okay. I feel like it's going to be a lot easier for me to ask questions to Evan and Avery just because I know them better than I know the other two of you. So I'll save them for last.
Okay.
Riley.
Yes.
Gosh, this is hard. What was your favorite part about the cruise? I saw you walking around. I was supposed to get a picture with you and I didn't. But what was your favorite part about the cruise? And what is your favorite part? I guess it's a 2-part question. What is your favorite part about attending Southern Gospel concerts, just in general?
For the cruise, I got to hang out with a lot of younger people that love this music and just stand around the piano and sing. And that's something I don't usually get to do. So that was probably my favorite part. Obviously, I love the music and going and hearing people, but that was probably like the highlight for me. And when going to concerts, I guess the message in the song is obviously there's some entertainment in there too. Sometimes. But I don't want to be all super spiritual and all that. But but I do enjoy the fellowship even when I go to singings, talking to people and getting to know people, and that's kind of like my outlet because I don't have like a lot of people living nearby me that I hang out with. So when I go to concerts, it's like going to see friends. I guess that I love the music, and then I also love that aspect of the community too.
That's awesome.
Unless that person weirdly walks up to you and just introduces himself.
Yeah, I've kind of come out of Michelle a little bit, but back then I was just scared half to death. Well, I was like, who is that?
But that's how if you've never heard that story, me and Riley were at a Triumphant and Karen Peck concert. I think the Inspirations were there as well.
No,
and,
Primitives.
Primitives. Yeah, okay, that was it. And like I just walked
3 years ago.
Because I walked up to, I had no clue, like, kind of who he was, but I recognized him off social media. I just walked up to him and I was like, hey, you're that guy who records all them gospel concerts. And looking back on it, that was really awkward, which anyone who knows me, I'm the most awkward human being who God has ever put on this planet.
That's me. No.
Okay, so Scott.
Yes.
You don't have to answer this, but you made a mention about my age. So before I ask this, how old are you?
I'm 50.
So you're 50. Okay.
Yes.
So have you been a Southern Gospel fan your whole life?
Yes.
Okay.
Is that open-end question or just were you going somewhere else with that?
I was going somewhere else.
Go ahead. Keep going.
Okay.
Keep going.
So if you've been a Southern Gospel fan your whole life and you're 50 years old,
yes.
What about this music makes you continue listening to it?
Oh, that is an excellent question.
Because for me, just in case you flip the question around on me, for me, I'll be very honest, singing this music and listening to it my entire life, there have been moments where I'm like, can I listen to anything other than this? So I'm asking you, after 50 years, what keeps you listening to this music?
Sure. So growing up, I had a family that sang. So I was immersed from the very beginning and introduced. And I grew up, like my first real recollections were from early 80s. So, you started getting into like the heyday of that Cathedrals group. And then along came the Ivan, Brian, Mike, and Tim Gold City and through there. And so that's where I lived and came up through. I was big fans of the Nealons. I was big fans of the Perry family, as you referred to, and through those years, and I enjoyed it. I guess because I was supposed to, because it was the family deal. You know, music was the family deal. You just love Southern gospel, and then as I grew older and grew in my faith, and really, you know, as a young person, you sing I could hear harmony. So I love the music. I love the hooks. I love the, it was fun. It was fun to sing. Well, then as I grew in my faith, I started listening to what those words were saying.
Yes.
And I love all kind of music. I mean, I listen to some secular music, you know, and I love Christian music. I love Christian music. But there is nothing to me that has the meat in the message like when you listen to Southern gospel music. And it ministers to me. They didn't have such things as ADD when I was a kid. They just whipped you, you know, when you acted up. But if I would have been the poster child for ADD. So sometimes a 40-minute sermon, I can get out there and my mind goes and I'm a squirrel, you know. But in that 3-minute, 4-minute song, I have had so many sermons preached to me and things hit just the right way. Like I said, there's something about the message of the music of Southern gospel that I don't think you find any. I'm not putting down contemporary and the praise and worship, but I just don't hear the meat and I don't hear the message from the word of God. I mean, so many songs are just taking from scripture, you know, just from the word of God. And it ministers to me and I'm hooked. And that's what keeps bringing me back to the table.
That's awesome. And to tell you, because you may mention earlier how I would describe Southern gospel, and you kind of mentioned because, you know, I'm younger and you're older than me. So but if you had asked me the question that I just asked you, my answer would have been almost identical.
Awesome.
Which I think just tells you how awesome this music is.
Yes.
And the connection that this music can have with the person that listens to it.
Absolutely. I remember, and you can't see him. Well, I'll let you see him, but we have producers sitting over here helping run the show. But I remember going to Louisville, Kentucky with Jason and sitting in the middle of 10,000, 12,000 people sitting there and just weeping like a baby because a song was delivered at that moment and something that I was going through that nobody else knew about, but it ministered and spoke straight to my heart. And I had a moment with the Lord thanks to the music.
Yes. It's awesome.
Yep.
Awesome. Okay. So Evan and Avery.
Are we still frozen, by the way?
No,
Cool.
Okay. So you can't say old-fashioned altar, Evan.
Okay, fine. I'll pull
What is your favorite Perry song?
Oh gosh. For nostalgic reason, for listening reason, I mean, that's about all I listen to. I guess I'd say for nostalgic reason only, Wish I Could Have Been There, because that's the first song I ever got to sing with the Perrys. First song that the day that like I knew I wanted to be a bass singer type deal, one of those. But I guess just to listen to and just for sure, like, man, this song always is awesome. Old fashioned altar, but This Old Sinner Testifies is good. Hands down probably my favorite song the Perrys do. Probably my favorite Tracy song of all time too.
Yeah.
I would probably say Almost Morning. That one has gotten me through some dark times. Even on the good days, it's still good. Oh, yeah. You know, there's the promise that morning is coming.
Just gonna show you how much of a Perry's nerd I am. But I still, on a regular basis, I just put the Perrys on shuffle.
Yeah.
And obviously, when you've been listening to it as much as I have for as long as I have, there are songs that you skip because, you know, you're not going to enjoy them as much as something else. Yes. Almost Morning is one that I almost never skip.
No.
How good it is.
another one kind of like with Evan, well, not nostalgic reasons, but kind of nostalgic reasons, is Damascus Road.
Oh,
That
yeah.
was when I was so small that you couldn't see me over the pulpit. My parents would sit me in this metal folding chair, so everybody in the church could see me over the pulpit, and we would sing together Damascus Road, and I got to sing Libby's little part of I've been walking.
Yeah.
And I was probably, big enough to form sentences, 5, 6, right around kindergarten, and that song will always be special to me because I remember standing in that little metal folding chair singing with my parents.
Yeah.
Another one that had just come to mind too, because I was going through some more, because I hate answering so abruptly. Everywhere I Go is another song that I always that's one of those where you said unskippable. Everywhere I Go was one of the first songs I ever sang based on, so that's always one that I love too.
Newer, that's getting up in my ranks, and you may see me at concerts just about getting Baptist-costal, is I'm Just Warming Up. That little Pentecostal choir comes up with me, and I'm like, yeah, I'm just warming up.
By the way, that is our next radio single. And
Awesome.
me and Jason went in and recut that. So it is the current group singing it that will be released to the radio.
Oh, I'm so proud of Jason. He finally learned how to sing.
And I like Who I Could Have Been that Jared does, because that's my testimony. For years, I was like, I don't have this cool testimony. I mean, I was a deacon's kid that got drugged to church and drugged to singings and drugged to revivals. And it was like, well, then I just got saved because I realized I was a sinner. I wasn't saved miraculously from drugs or alcohol or this crazy wild story. And I was like, well, mine won't touch anybody. And it was like, no, but you were saved from who you could have been. And so I love that, because that's me.
Right. We sang that song for the first time that I've sung it with them. We sang it last Sunday at Josh Frank's church because he has there's a portion in our program where Libby almost always expects Jared to sing at least one song, and he didn't want to sing "God Did," so he fired the track to that, and we did it.
It's such a good song.
No.
Jason, I don't mean to make this my interview, but Jason put a comment to what's my favorite Elvis song, and I'll say this, I say it to everyone, I don't have a favorite. Honestly, the only time I listen to Elvis is to a practice for a show. That's legit.
And now
I don't have a favorite song.
Now you know. Well, as we come in for a landing, guys, my co-host, if y'all have a last short question you want to go ahead and get that loaded up in your pop gun ready to fire. But I do want to take just a second, because we definitely appreciate Dayton spending the evening with us. We appreciate the Perrys have been wonderful sharing about this interview coming up and have partnered with us. So y'all, if you go to perrysministries.com, that is the website, perrysministries.com. You can find the Perrys tour information, find out where they're going to be. You can go to their store and shop all this wonderful music we've been talking about all night long. Shop the latest release, and also you can find booking information, because I know the Perrys would love to come to your church or your venue to sing. And anything else you would like to talk about or promote as far as Perrys goes, Dayton?
Like I said, our next single, I think it's supposed to go to radio the 24th of this month, but it will be warming up. So just be listening for that. And if you have a local station that you listen to frequently where you're at, call them and request it. That helps us out. And if we're close to you, if you get on the website and you see that we're close to you, come out and see us. And we would love to have you, love to see you.
Absolutely. And talking about all these hits, if I'm remembering correctly, and I think it's the Wednesday night of National Quartet Convention this year, the board has put together kind of a hits night, and it's like all kind of top groups where you're going back and bringing back and singing the hits that the groups are, and y'all are on that lineup. So that's going to be an awesome time. Looking forward to that.
I'm looking forward to it as well.
I was going to plug Perry's wise. Jared and his wife Lindsay do a lot of screen printing shirts, cups, earrings.
Yes.
And they're on Facebook, J&L Living. They have awesome. I have a bunch of shirts that they have made for me. So go and support Jared and Lindsay's small business there.
Absolutely. Definitely support that. And going back to that Wednesday night, a lot of times at NQC, you kind of pick like what times and what moments during the night you may move back and go to the tables and go talk to people. I think that Wednesday night is going to be sitting in the seats for 5 to 6 hours. So yeah, that's going to be a fantastic night. Well, partners, do y'all have any last round questions for
Jason? Pull up Jason's comment.
That's twice.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mention that. Once it goes to radio, it will also be available on all media platforms. So you can go and download it, Apple Music, Spotify, whatever you use.
I was meaning his last comment. This last one down here. So apparently we have a little rivalry here. Because if I'm not mistaken, at one time you did a podcast, Dayton. Because I listened.
I was telling Riley and Scott that before y'all got on.
And then I know Jason and I think Tony does theirs.
Yes.
And then there's this one. So there's a little bit of like a little squabble going on right now. So which one is your favorite, Dayton?
Between those three?
Preferably, I wish you would be one of those three.
Between these three, I'm sorry, Jason and Tony, but I'm gonna have to give it to these.
Hey, good answer. Good answer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because,
it didn't work.
Why? I'm on here. I've been on their podcast, I think 3 times at this point. So it's not just because I'm on here. It is because I really appreciate and I believe in what y'all do. I think it is so cool that you reach out to young artists and encourage them and allow people who listen to y'all and people who are interested to learn more about the young artist. Because, I'm young and I've seen just in the years that I've been listening, I've seen young artists come and go and they may end up with another group. You may never hear from them again. And you never had the opportunity to learn anything about them. So what y'all do is fantastic for getting to know these young artists and just promoting them and promoting the music. It's awesome.
And thank you to the Perrys. As long as I've been following the Perrys, Libby has always been an encourager to young people.
Yes.
And you guys, you and Jason and Jared are all just so encouraging and so welcoming. I mean, you guys are you have a smile on your face and want to talk to the young people. So.
And Libby has pulled me on stage more than any person in the world. I mean, full on concerts, I'll show up in a t-shirt and blue jeans and she'll just be like, come on. So that's why I've learned to dress up a little bit around because you never know.
You never know. You never know.
Never know. Well, thank you so much for that encouragement on your side, Dayton. That means the world to us for y'all to enjoy what we do. And it's been a joy for us. We just love all of our young fans and young artists and thankful for this community. Any closing parting shots, my friends?
I think we did.
I got one.
Go ahead, Rod.
So you talked a little bit about y'all's new single, but are y'all working on any new music with just a full album on it?
So currently we are getting together songs for an album, and actually we've gotten all the songs. People have sent us a lot of songs, and the process we're doing now is narrowing down our lists and combining those lists and trying to make some sort of sense out of 4 different people's preferences.
Sure.
So that's what we're doing now, and I think within the next couple of weeks we're going to be kind of comparing the list that we've narrowed down and trying to make sense of that. So we will be putting out an album once all of that gets squared away.
Well, we'll be looking forward to that. Always great to have that new music coming. And Dayton, I thank you so much for sharing the evening with us. It's been a blast for us. I hope it's been tolerable for you as well.
Oh, this was awesome. I've been looking forward to it all day, and y'all did not disappoint.
Well, fantastic. And if you got just a second, hang with us on the other side and we'll give our goodbyes. But to our watchers and our listeners, thank you so much for joining us for episode 13 of Southern Gospel Forward. And if you'll come back and be with us, we're going to do it again a couple of weeks down the road. But again, if you don't mind, share what you're watching on Facebook and go to that YouTube channel, SBM Studios, and please, please, please subscribe. We sure could use it. But what in the world are y'all doing?
We're waving goodbye.
Oh, you're waving goodbye. All right. Well, look, let's get out. Rattle up the ponies, producer Jason. We'll get out of here. God loves you too.